It is time once again for another black bear hunt out here on Silver Ridge Peaks in Call of the Wild, and last time we were able to do a halfway decent job, I think, of finding black bear zones and setting up tents to speed up the process. So the main goal today is going to be trying to determine a little bit of an order in how we want to hunt them and what's going to be the most efficient. So we're starting off quickly here where we've always started our runs, just checking to see if any bears are right in here. And then we'll get on to some of the tents that we placed. Now, quite honestly, this is a bit of a process, and we definitely will not, by the end of this hunt, have an entire run planned out. Basically, we will go along and try to make note, at least mentally, of what lakes tend to have bears early on in the drink time, versus which lakes maybe we have to wait for a little bit later. And I would say, even though this guy was just coming in, starting off where we did may be an okay idea. And the good thing is too, because it takes some time to sort of run around and check all these spots, it normally leaves a little more time for other bears to work their way into their zones, and usually that can be a good thing to start off a run with. Now, I'm not sure where that guy's coming from. Almost would have been a good candidate for one of the new handguns to try to take that out, but he must have been on his way down to this lake, and I wanted to go and check it. I saw the hunting pressure. I'm almost certain we didn't come here in the last video, and that may be a good move. That's a female bear there. Got another one running up out of there, another female. I wonder if there are going to be more males. This is definitely something that will probably work itself out eventually. We'll either get to a point where it's a consistent mix of males and females at this lake, or all the males will start to spawn in other areas, and ultimately that's why that spot down in the southwest, the mule deer outpost, got to be so good in the end for the previous iteration of this grind. We just kept on shooting all the males in some areas, and they would become female only, and there were only so many places the males could end up spawning. And as I just mentioned, a lot of lakes will ultimately become basically female only, because if you're not shooting the female bears, there's nowhere they start to respawn, but the males will eventually try to move around, and as things shift, that is just kind of the way it tends to go, and that is what we're seeing already pretty quickly. Between the stream and our couple of runs so far, we've maybe shot 50 bears, and it's already getting tough to find males. I'm sure there's somewhere, it's just a matter of figuring out where they are, and that can be fairly time consuming. And so far, the only spots producing males are the ones that have been really the most productive overall. We are once again up here on the east side of the map, just where we were able to get the most bears on pretty much every run that we've done previously, and I'm hoping there's going to be at least one more down here. 3 males by 22-28 in game is not what I would have expected. Now, the way that we are trying to make sure that we don't have anything spawn that we were too close to is actually go to the other lake just north of there, and then we'll go back down knowing that we are well over 200 meters even from the north side of the lake that we were on. So basically, spawn here, shoot whatever on the south side of the lake, head up this way, get anything from here, and then go back down, and anything that maybe was too close will have gotten beyond that 200 meter range and spawned in. That, I guess, was just a dusky that I'm not used to seeing in the dark and with the light right on its face, because at first it almost looked silvery. For a second I thought that might have been something special, but a 4 and a 3 up here. It's males, and again, we've already matched our entire total just from these couple of spots. Not exactly big ones though. And of course we were able to get a level 1 male in the previous grind, but this so far is the smallest we've seen since starting back up, a 15.14 level 3, and now that we are well beyond 200 meters from the north side, in fact well over 400, we can run ourselves back down and see if anything else shows up. And it's difficult enough to see animals in the reeds when it's light out, so we very well could have had a bear in the reeds that ran off without us seeing it. I don't think that happened. I really tried to keep the binoculars up and scan around to avoid that happening, so maybe it was only the 1 male here, but at least it was actually halfway decent as a level 6, and finally a gold at 19.76, doubling at 226 meters, and I guess we'll go ahead from here and check this southern little lake. Now I think we had a bear zone there, but it was a female zone, but since we haven't visited in a while, there could be some male respawns. And indeed, we've got a male black bear down here now, 19 to 21, so quite possibly another gold. And right as we shot, another male warning call, so that's definitely a plus. It really is beginning to feel like, and maybe things will shift as we go along, but there's only a select few lakes that we really need to place our focus on, and that can help, it just also can become monotonous. So we kinda had to run him down, but not too long of a track. There's a very difficult to see tree just to the left of where we're shooting, had to let him get past that, but at least that's another male, and I think between these 3 lakes, that'll make 5 total. Not too bad for something that doesn't take too long to check, and considering I want to say we had 2 at all the other spots we've looked at so far, that's not a bad deal. Now the other huge advantage here is that, as far as I know, these aren't lakes that black bear and mountain lion share, so you can check them at any time and not have to worry about having bears run off from the mountain lions, only anything that we may spook as we're running around not able to see all that well, but that's a big plus. Good to see that many in a relatively small area. But then as for our other level 6, 19.89, so a little bigger than the last. Dark fur type and double lung at 215. And now I guess it gets a little more interesting as we have to find another place to hopefully continue to encounter some male bears. And no surprise, this lake yet again produces a male, a level 5. Not quite the max red estimate level 7 and 8 that we had in the last hunt, but at least another male, one that we did not make the best shots on. I thought that follow-up might have been okay, but I suppose this is going to be a matter of quantity over quality, but this little lake in here tends to be quite good, and it always was in the past as well, so good that that continues. There's a female bear in here too, which I think so far is the only lake we visited that still had both. We may at some point, if this lake continues to be consistent, try shooting that female bear and seeing if getting it out of the way, combining with some males that we shoot in that same session, could get a male to respawn here and take his place. Ideally, we get to a spot where we almost don't even need to spot the bears. If we can see them, they should be all males, and it just kind of helps in our efficiency if every place we go, all we're shooting is male bears, and all the male bears primarily are in those areas. So essentially, as we continue to go along and shoot more and more bears, hopefully that starts to even out and we can figure out exactly what we want to do. But so far, I definitely feel like these 2 as a start, and probably directly moving to these 3, is probably the way that we are going to approach it. The rest, I'm still a little unsure of. I like placing the tent down here. Hopefully more males will continue to show up in the future, but I'm not exactly sure where we're going from this point. Now this is interesting. I do kind of recall, I think mountain lions drink at this lake now and they didn't in the past, and that's probably why that level 5 is taken off right at the beginning. I actually thought that one may have flown through there right as we were taking the shots. Could have been a turkey, hard to say. If there are mountain lions around, everything in the area is going to be starting to move. I don't see any mountain lions. I do see another bear, but that's actually kind of a plus. I don't think we came here in the last video either, and I kind of thought I remembered there being no bears here, but clearly there still are. In fact, there are a lot of bears. Only one male over there with those 4, and another female over in there. Maybe this is about the best bear lake on the map. That does make me wonder. Now, everything is still so spread out. I don't think no matter what we do, that it could get anywhere near as good as the Mule Deer Outpost Lake was before, but it could be a place. Really, we could do 2 things. It could be a place where we hope nothing but female bears spawn, because it's such a big lake and would take so much time to go around and get everything. It could end up being more of a detriment to our efficiency than a positive. The other side though, if we placed enough tents and were able to kind of figure out where all the zones were, if we did shoot some of the females and tried to make more room for males and could get them spawning here consistently, it could be one of those spots that ends up producing a lot of good things. So this will be one to keep an eye on. All the surface area basically, and the fact that it's a little bit alone down here other than this one, does make it a decent candidate for a bear hotspot. That said though, this right here probably means we should hope for the first thing I said, basically getting nothing but female bears to spawn here and making it a spot that we know that we can just avoid. If there's mountain lions down here that are likely to send the bears running, we really more so want it as a throwaway spot and not a primary location, which kind of is a bummer. I like this lake a lot, and I believe it's really good for mule deer now, I was told, but I don't think it's going to be one of our primary bear lakes in the future anyway. And so after all of that speculation, I think we're probably just going to be shooting some males here and hoping that they respawn elsewhere and maybe some more females fill some of the slots that are left behind. A level 5 here and I think a level 4 over on the other side. At least we still have our 2 tents from before that make it fairly quick to maneuver around. I will add though, on the plus side things are picking up a little. We've got 10 bears now, counting this guy at 16.12. And so as we begin to reach the end of this run, we are back actually at the first spot that we checked, and that really is the case for pretty much any grind that we ever do. I find that checking the first spot as your last spot also kind of ensures that if anything hasn't reached its zone yet when you begin the run, it should be there by the time that you end the run. So even though it is an opportunity to move around and let some of the other bears in other locations get into their zones, and even though we can get some bears there, as some are here early, not all of them are always there early, and I do think it can be good to set up a run this way so that you can check everything, give them time, but also not end up leaving things out by only going to your first spot once. And bear number 11 comes from that kind of strategy there, 16.86, and I'm hoping that maybe over where we got bear number 1, right down here by this road, there may be more in that area. My idea being if there was one going down to that zone, there may be others that show up a little bit late, and because we got there right at the start of their drink time, they may not have been in the area to even spook from that. And sadly, although I guess better late than never, we finally have our first basically guaranteed goal as long as we can make the shot of the hunt, a level 7 out there 300 meters away and not too far from where we shot the 6. Now the hunting pressure is completely gone. That would have been probably around here, so not a huge difference. And quite frankly, if we don't end up getting another bear, ending with exactly 12 would probably be appropriate. But I think, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is a process of trying to build out an entire run. And while we probably could take notes and try to, I guess, remember everything from those notes and go from there, I kind of just tried to make mental notes of which lakes tend to produce bears, which don't, and also as we do that, start to rule out more and more lakes. At the beginning, I really don't rule out any, so we've got tented spots that aren't tending to produce. This lake up here, for instance, this one down here I think had 1 female. These ones only have females for now, but I don't want to start ruling those out until we're maybe 200, 300 bears in or more, and then we can start to really move tents, and once the tents are moved to the spots that we need, it makes it a little bit easier to form a run when all the lakes that have tents basically are ones that we actually want for the male bear zones. It does look like we're going to be wrapping up with exactly 12 bears today, so pretty nice to get a gold to cap that off. This one appears to be maybe a black fur type, hard to tell laying like that. It is 20.01, only one today to top the 20 mark, left long at 322 meters, and I think that was fairly decent progress. The biggest thing for me was compared to the first couple times where we'd get a male up here, a male down here, 1 male in this area. All of our male bears today were focused basically in this area, maybe every single one. I'd have to go back and make sure that we didn't get 1 random one elsewhere, but this appears to be the core of our black bear grind, and everybody's map is going to be different. So if you're doing this along with me, and if you've struggled to get a great one black bear as well, I'm not guaranteeing that your map's going to do the same thing, but that is the kind of thing that you want to find. The places that run after run produce male bears, and as you narrow that down, it should only get better and more consistent as your spawns kind of tend to even out. I've mentioned before, the way that it kind of works is you've got a widespread spawn to begin with, and once you start to get respawns, things will eventually even out and get a lot more consistent. But anyway, no trophy bears to go back to the trophy lodge today, so we'll be wrapping up out here in the middle of the night running around on Silver Ridge Peaks. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.